To another edition of We Are Legion Live. Tonight, joining us all the way from Australia, we have Harry J. Hart.
How you doing?
Oh, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Oh, how's everything down there in Australia?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Um, yeah.
I guess it's what, winter time down there now?
Yeah, I think so. I don't leave the house much. So it's just like it's another
Yeah.
day. Um,
Yeah. Well, especially this last year, no one leaves the house very much. So,
give me 2 seconds. I can't seem to get my volume up. Um, I can't hear anything. There we go. All right,
much better.
much better.
All right, sounds good. Um, so, what part of Australia are you from?
I'm in the Gold Coast. So
Gold Coast, right on.
yeah. Um, yeah, so I'm like Sydney's here, Brisbane's up here. I'm kind of closer to Brisbane.
Right on.
Yeah, you're in Kansas, right?
I Yeah, I'm right on the border of Kansas and Missouri. I'm in Kansas City area, which splits both states and is on both sides. I live. I used to live on the Missouri side, but now I live on the Kansas side because I work over here.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and my day job, I work for the Army. I build computer networks. I'm a civilian that works for the Army. I build computer networks for them.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, so
That's pretty cool.
and so Trissette is actually the one that had you had you get in touch with me about this interview.
Yeah.
How do you know her?
Honestly, through Twitter.
Through
Um,
Twitter. Okay.
yeah, like there's this group chat that we've got going, and I don't remember off the top of my head how I ended up in it, but I did. And yeah, so we ended up having like a barbecue at my place, and just getting a heap of people over from the group chat. And yeah, that was like the first time I probably met Trizette like face to face.
Okay. Actually, I'm pretty good friends with Trissette. I met her through here and on Twitter, and I've interviewed her a couple times, and we DM back and forth. I'm looking forward for her to get back to the States so I can
Mm,
maybe head out to LA and be on her
yeah,
show and do a kind of a live interview with her now that everything's kind of opening back up. But she's got to kind of wait for the touring and stuff to pick back up before she can come back to the States. And
yeah,
but looks like everything's starting to open back up quite a little bit over here, anyways.
yeah, sick.
The Missouri side of the state line, they went from kind of just total lockdown to full on open. Everything's open. Mask mandates dropped. Everything just boom.
Oh wow.
If you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. And which I'm, like I said, I work for the government, so I was lucky enough to get my vaccine. And
Yeah, sick.
I've been vaccinated for several months now, and I'm ready to get out and get some live music. I mean,
Oh yeah.
these are big music venues because we have a ton. We have a pretty great music scene here in Kansas City of all different types of genres and stuff. And
Mm,
the big venues, as soon as they drop those mask mandates, they're like, "We got to book this place, and we're gonna pack."
yeah, right.
We haven't had an act in here in over a year, and
Oh
they're
wow.
they're just begging for people to come play at these big places now. And I don't think once they get them scheduled, there's going to be no problem getting them packed.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll be sold out in minutes, no matter who's playing. It doesn't really matter. I mean, that's how much people have missed live music around here because we had live music, but even none of the big venues had anybody, and the smaller venues they were only like 10 to 25% capacity. So
Yeah.
not you really weren't getting in to see them, and you just weren't getting the same kind of vibe that you would get during a live show.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your music, and let everybody know what's going on with you?
Yeah, well, I'll start off by saying I just realized it says
Tara.
Tara Hart.
Yeah.
That's my mum. She's also my manager. So
Okay.
I'm using her computer because my one just died. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I've been playing guitar because that's my main thing is guitar. Been playing guitar for coming up to 6 years now. But I've been doing music since grade 3. So I started with violin, or like I lied. I started in choirs. The first instrument I picked up was violin. And I think I was 10 when I did that. I never really loved it, but it let me figure out that I have a pretty good ear for like trying to listen to things. And so yeah, like that was kind of cool doing all that. Um, I faked my way through sight reading for 3 years, getting like A pluses, and then one year I got like a borderline fail, and it
Hmm.
was because the teacher would always be like, "All right, we're gonna play this today, and because you're little, I'll play it for you first." And then so she'd play it, and I'd listen to it, and I'd be like, "I can play that back." So I'd play it back, and then there was like fast forward a few years. She's like, "All right, and you guys can just play it on your own now." I was like, "What's that note? I don't know that one." She's like, "That's the first note you learn. It's a C." So after that, I moved to trumpet, and then from trumpet, I picked up saxophone. And then I changed schools, and I dropped saxophone, kept trumpet, picked up bass guitar and ukulele, and then I was playing guitar by that point. So I picked up guitar in about grade 8, and so I started out as an Ed Sheeran wannabe, to be honest. Like only ever played Ed Sheeran. That was it. Like I could play the first 3 albums back to front, all the B sides, all the wacky like live ones that he wouldn't put on the record. I could play them all. Now I can't even name half of them. So I started as that, and then I went to a little music school up in Brisbane. So it was like an hour 45 on the train each way every day to go to a school called Music Industry College, which is short for MIC or Mike. And so while I was there, one of my friends showed me a band called Royal Blood.
Hmm.
And that was kind of what kind of kicked it off for me in the realm of like rock. Because I'd always been more into like the singer songwriter folky stuff. I dabbled in blues here and there. But yeah, Royal Blood was like the first band that I was like, I can do something like that. So, because I toyed around with heavier stuff earlier in the piece, like um, I used to do gymnastics, and the guy who ran the counter there played drums, and he was like, "You got to check out this band. They're called Tool. They're really sick."
They are.
So I was like, "Oh yeah," and I think I was probably like 13, 14. Been playing guitar for about a year, and I was like, "This song sounds pretty cool. I'll give it a go." Tried to learn it. I learned Lateralis by ear, and only realized later how much of a feat that is.
Absolutely.
Um, so that was yeah. So after that, I kind of was like, "Oh, cool! I can play one heavy song." And then I found Royal Blood, and through Royal Blood, I got really into like the really well produced modern rock, like Nothing But Thieves and all that. And then from there, I kind of started backtracking. So I was like, all right, well, I've got like the modern rock. Let's start going back. So I got really into like Zeppelin and Sabbath and Free, and then started moving forward into like I wouldn't quite say hair metal, but like White Snake. I got really into White Snake for a little while. And then I got really into the 90s and just haven't moved past that. So, um, like, one of my favorite bands of all time is Silverchair.
Hmm.
I love Alice in Chains, but unpopular opinion, I kind of prefer the newer Alice in Chains with William Duvall rather than Lane Staley.
Hmm.
I prefer the songwriting, It's a little nicer. Um, but yeah, Silverchair was like a big game changer for me because I realized, well, listening to it, my favorite album of theirs is Diorama, which is their second last album.
Yeah.
So that was at the point where they started to change things up and people were starting to not like it. Because they weren't just like the aggressive music coming from 15-year-olds. Like Daniel Johns is 20 by this point, and he gets really into musicals. So there's songs like Greatest View, which is like huge, chunky riffs, but it's got like a full orchestra and strings underneath it. It's so cool. So for me, that was where I saw my music going. Is like somewhere between like your new modern rock that's really nicely produced and super well rounded, and like alternative hard rock with strings and stuff. So I've got an EP coming out soon, which is kind of like it touches in all those areas. Like I've got a song called "Come Back Down," which when I first wrote it was borderline a Tool ripoff. Like it had this main riff that was like the strumming pattern was like, which at that point you stop and listen. You're like, that's Tool. So had to spice it up a touch, put strings into it, and so yeah, that's kind of like a really condensed version of how I got to where I am with my music.
I mean, and that's kind of an incredible journey. And for someone your age and you starting out with the modern rock and doing that, to want to go back and experience some of those older bands and to get influences from is kind of an amazing thing because not
Oh,
all
thank you.
people will do that. And you mentioned some very incredible artists through there that has influenced you. I mean, Tool was really big. This is going to date me, but when I was in high school, Tool
Yeah,
was really huge, and I love Tool,
that was actually the last show I saw before lockdown.
and well, that would be a good one to go into lockdown on. I'll tell you
Oh
that.
yeah,
But yeah, they're amazing, and there's so much that you can learn, even if you're not so much of a fan of that type of music. But even going back, and you said the hair metal bands, that was pretty much my wheelhouse growing up in the 80s and the early 90s was the hair metal, so I'm quite familiar with it. And David Coverdale and White Snake, yeah, I'm a huge fan.
yeah.
But there was just some amazing bands back in those days, and you can pick up a lot, especially guitar playing and stuff. Just some
Oh yeah.
amazing guitar players. And matter of fact, some of my favorite guitar players of all times are from those types of bands.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I give credit to you for going back and doing your due diligence on that. Even
Thank you.
you can even go back a little bit farther. Have you ever listened to like any Robert Johnson?
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
he,
We in
he's
my band we rewrote a version of Crossroads,
mm,
and it's like it's pretty different. It's usually when you think Crossroads cover, you'd think of like the Cream version
mm,
or the Robert Johnson version. But I kind of wrote this riff, and I was like trying to figure what to put with it, and so I ended up putting Crossroads to it. But it's kind of like an Alice in Chains style riff.
right
But
on.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and just going back and learning from those. I mean, most people don't even associate Robert Johnson with rock music because he was a blues singer, but without that recording from Robert Johnson,
You
that was
wouldn't have everything
rock and
else.
roll. Yeah, I mean that was kind of the seed that blossomed into what we know as the rock and roll, and
Yeah.
people have just added onto it from there. And me, I'm a lover of all genres of music, and uh, here in KC, we have a huge jazz and blues scene.
Ah, sick.
Well, because back in the early days of the jazz and the blues, there was a circuit. I mean, they'd start out in Memphis, they'd go to St. Louis, then over to Kansas City, down to Tulsa, and back over to Memphis. And it was kind of like a little square where they would travel the circuit with the clubs and stuff. And
Yeah.
we got an 18th and Vine district, which is really big in jazz and blues. And so it's not as popular nowadays with the younger crowd, but to sit there and to listen to that type of music, and you can, especially if you're a student of music, you can hear in some of those older songs where the newer songs got their start from,
Yeah.
and I've heard that somewhere before, but yeah, it came from here, ended up here, and and that's really impressive that a younger artist would do something like that. Why don't we take a minute and I'll let you tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So you can find me on pretty much all socials under Harry J Hart Music. And then Hart spelled Hart, not like heart, but more heart,
Yeah,
like a,
I did get your
a
name
stag.
changed on the screen. Yeah, so
Ah, sick. Thank you.
for the perks of being the guy that's in charge of it, I get to change the names if I want to. So
Yeah. And then on Spotify and Apple Music and all that jazz, it's just Harry J Hart. So that's where you can find all that. Yeah.
um, so I pulled up your Spotify, and you got
Mm.
some tracks on there. Uh, do you want me to play one of the songs for somebody?
Yeah.
The
Sure.
top three that come up are "Make It Easy," "It Calls Out," or "Why Do We Love." Do you want to play?
It Calls Out's my personal favorite.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn that on, and we're gonna let everybody listen to that. It's called "It Calls Out." Dark shadow stalks behind me. I see it at the corner of my eye. I try to scream, but I just can't speak. It's closing in on me. It's closing in on my soul. It's closing in on my soul. It calls out. It calls out. It calls out. It calls out. I need to find my way out of here. I can't see an exit sign. Houdini, get me out of here. I'm trapped up in my own mind. It calls out. Calls out. I feel it far away. It calls out. It calls out. I feel it far away. It's holding me. You know, oh, hang on. Well, after listening to that, and you mentioned some of the newer age stuff, and then you went back and you was talking about the '90s, but I hear a lot of influence from some like early 2000s around in there, kind of like a Puddle of Mud or like Chevelle.
Ah, yes, they're
Uh,
sick.
uh, I hear that, and that's what it reminds me of. Is I've seen those two bands quite a little bit. Yeah, like a Chevelle and Puddle of Mud. Pretty much, yeah, they immediately came to mind. Well,
Ah, sick.
and
One of my favorite bands is Thrice. So
right on,
that,
yeah, and yeah. I mean, I got a real good positive vibe from that, and that was good stuff. And I mean, that was pretty. I was kind of in my younger 20s around when those guys were first starting out and coming up, and yeah, I mean, those are the ones that I would go to the clubs and start. I'd be listening to them at the clubs and stuff. The lead singer of Puddle Mud's actually from here in Kansas City. Uh,
no way.
yeah, the rest of the band's from Oklahoma, but he's from here in Kansas City, and I've seen Chevelle several times. We until the pandemic hit, we used to have the rock station here in town would have a 1 day music festival called Rockfest that they do every year, and
Hmm.
seen Chevelle a couple times in there, and
Oh, that's sick.
really good stuff, man. And I hear a lot of that influence in there, and when you first when it went from the very beginning of the guitar, I was like, all right, and then you started singing, and I was like, oh man, this is building just like yeah, like you would with a Chevelle song, and I was really digging that.
Ah, thank you.
So
Thinking about it now, like I just found Chevelle when I wrote that because I wrote that song in beginning of my last year of high school, so grade 12, and I remember it was like earlier in that year that I just found Deftones, and then through
mhm.
Deftones I found Chevelle, and like, well, I found Deftones because I was playing bass in a like a hardcore new metal band, and it was pretty much like a Deftones ripoff. It was awesome.
uh, yeah, that's some good stuff there. So have you are you in the process of recording any new music and putting it
Yeah.
out right now? Is it going to be like just basically singles, or are you looking like an EP or an album type thing?
Well, so It Calls Out and Make It Easy are the first two singles of the EP coming out.
Okay.
So I've got two more singles coming out, and then we're dropping the whole EP.
Oh, right on. So when's the new singles coming out?
The next single is uh, a month ago. Sorry, a month away as of yesterday. So
Okay. So right around
so 24th of June.
24th of June. Um, I don't know if Trissette mentioned it or not, but actually the 26th and 27th here in the States, uh,
Mm.
I'm doing a virtual music festival that's
Ah, sick.
days of just independent artists just playing. So yeah, just make sure I get that link so we can get that blasted out to get your pre-saves and stuff for it if you do a pre-save.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
uh, there there's some other bands that you should check out. A band called Faust. They're out of Nashville. They're a rock band. Uh,
Okay, what were they called again? Sorry, Founts.
Faust, Foust.
Foust. Okay,
Yeah,
sick.
and and he's been on the show a couple times. Chris Faust, the lead singer, he's a good friend of mine. And also check out Deep Fried.
Will do.
They're a band out of Canada, and they're really good. And they're if you follow any of my streams, my on there where they drop the links and stuff, they're in there. You can DM them. They're super nice guys, any of them, and they will they would love to give you if you have any questions or anything like that, they'd help you out, or maybe even want to collab on some stuff. You never know.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Uh, uh, yeah, Deep Fried right now. They're in Canada and they're kind of spread out a little bit in Canada, so they haven't got to play together for a minute. But they're really
Yeah.
cool, and they were on just a while back. If you get a chance, you can go back and watch their episode that I did with Deep Fried. It's been a month or so ago,
Okay.
and it was just a really fun time hanging out with those guys, and they're super cool, and they got some pretty great music. Um, uh, have you thought of adding any more? You said you dabbled in some blues and stuff. Have you thought about adding some more blues into your music?
Um, well, so my best mate Will, he plays bass in my band, but
Mm-hmm.
he's primarily a guitarist. And so the two of us we've been talking about putting together like a southern rock blues band for far too long, and we're like finally getting around to doing it. So because like one of our favorite musicians of all time is a guy named Marcus King.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of Marcus King?
Yes.
Yeah, guy's a weapon. I saw him at Blues Fest, which is like
Mm-hmm.
one of our biggest festivals we have down here, and like he wasn't even one of the headliners, but he put on a better show than everyone else. Like because he played on like one of the smaller stages, and
Mm-hmm.
so I saw him, and then I ducked to another stage to watch Gary Clark Jr. And I'd seen Gary before because I when I was in New York a few years ago, he was doing a free show in one of the parks. I don't remember which one. Um, so because this was the first time I went to Berkeley, was this trip, and so we made the detour to New York solely to go see Gary,
Mm-hmm.
and saw Gary. And then I was meant to fly to Boston the next day to get to Berkeley, and this is like a whole nother story. I just got sidetracked.
Go ahead, man. It's your show.
But
You go ahead.
so yeah, we had too much luggage to get on a bus. We wouldn't make it in time if we caught a train, and all flights were cancelled. And it's like 2 in the morning at this point, and I've got to be in Boston by 10. So I'm freaking out, and I'm like, it's not going to happen. The whole reason I came to the States is just not going to happen. So I'm panicking, and I'm trying to like think of things I could do. And Mum's like, I got this idea. Bear with me. Let's call an Uber. So we're in Newark. We call an Uber, and they get there, and we're like, hey, I know it's 2 in the morning. We're aiming to go to Boston. And they're like, that's way too far. We're not doing that. So we had like 3 people leave, and Mum's like, we'll give it one last try. So at this point, I'm in tears. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I just want to go home. And so the last Uber pulls up, and I'm like crying. I'm like, don't do it. I'll just go back inside and sleep. And so Mum chats to the guy, and he's like, well, I got a daughter who's studying in Boston, so I haven't seen her in a while. Get on in. I'll take you to Boston.
Nice.
So, but he agreed to do it if we paid in cash. So we were like, yep, all right, sounds good. How much is it? And he's like, on the Uber app, it says like $900. But because cash, can we round it up? And we're like, okay, all right, whatever. You're driving us to Boston. We'll do what you ask. So we paid him 1,000 in cash, but we hadn't had $1,000 in American cash. So we're like, we'll give you 1,000 in Australian cash, and you can change it over. How's that sound? Like, we'll put in the money for the conversions. He's like, sounds good. And we're running on like 2 hours sleep. So after the Uber trip, we give him the money, and he was like just in awe of how colorful our money is.
Mm-hmm.
Like our $100 notes are green. Also, our money's plastic and has like for like proof that it's real. It's got like like a little see-through little hole at the bottom with like either the Southern Cross or like a kangaroo or a koala or something, depending on what note it is. And there's also like, I wouldn't call them Easter eggs, but Easter eggs is the first word that comes to mind with our money. So like, cause yeah, we've got like the $100 note, which is green, 50 is yellow. It's like a salmony pink is 20, then blue is 10, and hot pink is 5. And like one of the Easter eggs is like on the $10 note, it's a portrait of a poet named A.B. Patterson or Banjo Patterson, and he wrote one of our most famous poems that we have. And it's called "The Man from Snowy River." And if you look really closely, behind his portrait is the man from Snowy River, the whole thing, and it's like a short novel, and it's the whole thing is written behind him on this note.
Oh, nice.
And so yeah, we gave him the money, and then as soon as we got out of the car, Mum's turned to me and she goes, "I got the currency conversions wrong. He's gone by this point." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Their money's worth more than ours is. I gave him it as if ours was worth more. In other words, we've paid him $2,000.
Mm.
We're like, think of it as a really nice tip. A really, really nice tip.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was back to the story I was going at before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw Gary at Blues Fest after seeing him in New York, and like he was so good. But having come from Marcus King, it was like this isn't holding up. So I went back to Marcus King, and because his first album is like southern rock, riffy blues rock, and it was produced by Warren Hayes, who was in the Allman Brothers. And I found out how he did that too. That's a whole nother story. Like he's 16, snuck into a club because he heard Warren was in the area in Greenville. So he snuck into a club pretending to be a janitor. And he walks up and he's like, "Hey, my name's Marcus. Here's my CD. I'd love for you to listen to it." And Warren's like, "I don't know who you are, but I want you to leave me alone."
Yeah, they get that a lot.
Yeah. And so Marcus is like, "Okay, well, I'm going to head back home and cry for a bit. It's fine." So he leaves, and the family home phone gets a phone call. And his mum picks up and goes, "Hi, how can I help?" And the guy on the other end's like, "Hey, my name's Warren. Can you put Marcus on?" "Yeah, okay." Marcus, dude named Warren's on the phone. And he's like, "I don't know a Warren, but I'll pick it up anyways." Picks up and goes, "Hey, Warren Haynes here. I listened to your CD that you gave me. I think it's awesome. I'd like to produce your next album, and I'd like to play on it." And that's how the first album came around, and that's like just sick riffy. I don't know how to describe his music, but it's so good. It's like blues meets psychedelic, but Marcus King has a jazz background, so it's like it's a player's delight. So that's the kind of thing that we're wanting to do, Will and I, is like that, like Allman Brothers, like the Joe Bonamassa thing, Eric Gales.
I love southern rock music and stuff like that. And one of my favorite blues artists of all time, and guitarist for that matter, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh yeah,
I just listen to him just play guitar. He don't even have to sing and just play guitar. I can sit there and listen to him for days.
yeah,
And just amazing, amazing stuff. And but I think it would fit well, adding a little bit more blues into
yeah.
music, and I think it would just really make it go over the top. Just with you adding just a little touch of that in there with it, with the sound that you have. So you said you have a band. What is the name of your band?
It's just under my name.
Just Harry J. Hart. Okay.
Just Harry J. Hart. Yeah. So like I
Okay.
do solo gigs, but I also like get a band together for if we're headlining a show
Okay.
or whatever.
So do you have a steady band, or are they the same band that plays with you when you just play on the solo stuff, or?
Well, on the album, I play pretty much everything.
Okay.
So the only like in It Calls Out, the only instruments I didn't play was keys and drums. And like I can play the drum part, but I chose to get someone else in because there's like you're going to get different sounds from different players.
Mm-hmm.
And the studio I record at has a weapon of a drummer named Michael Grabby. So I was like, I'd like to get him in instead of me playing. But we're tracking another song. I was meant to be in the studio today, but my producer's sick. We're meant to be tracking another song today, and I was going to play everything on that. But yeah, so live, it's like business-wise, everyone's session,
Uh-huh.
but I'm loyal within who I have. As in, like, if we have a gig, I will try to get the same, because we're a 4-piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I can, I will go as far as I can to keep the same 4 people. But if one of them can't make it and it's a big gig, I will get someone else in.
I actually did an interview last week with another Australian artist. I don't want to mess the name up. Let me see. Who was it? Oh, what was the band name? Ay, 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 ay. I kind of lost in my. Here, I'll just pull up YouTube. That'll tell me who. Because my DMs have been crazy because of the festival and trying to
True.
grab artists and things like that. So I kind of got lost in the shuffle. But a band called Sinker, who's also an Australian band, and he's a guitarist, amazing guitarist, and but on his songs he has a session singer who was singing, and you mentioned earlier he kind of sounded like Lane Staley.
Yeah.
I asked him if that was his regular singer, and he's like, "Well, he wants him to be, but he's a session singer." I was like, "I'll make sure that I'd be on his schedule anytime if you're looking for a singer."
Yeah.
Because that guy's good, and so yeah, so yeah, remember him too. I don't know if you know him or not. Him being another, I think he's more down towards Sydney.
Right.
But Storm Sinker.
Okay. I'll
He's
definitely check him out.
he's an amazing, amazing guitarist, and yeah, he can really shred. And uh, yeah, maybe you guys could do some collab work together
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
because yeah, it's kind of the same type of music. A little bit, a lot of Alice in Chains in there.
Yeah.
And so I think you guys could really maybe come together with something because right now he's got him and a drummer and a bass player, but he's looking to add another guitarist and he doesn't have a lead singer, so maybe kind of come together on something like that.
That could be cool.
Yeah, really awesome. Why don't we take another minute? What was the other song? Let me pull you back up.
Make It Easy is the other song.
Make It Easy. Yeah, that was the other one. You'd rather play Easy over It Calls Out? Oh, we played It Calls Out before. Okay, Make It Easy. All right, so let's listen to Make It Easy from Harry J. Hart.
Since you looked my way, it felt so long. My heart had stopped when you touched my face. It felt so strong. Thought this was good for me. Thought this was good for you. You never tried to save me. I've been hurting lately. Didn't wanna leave it, but you make it it easy. I only try to please you. She looked right through the picture. Didn't wanna leave you. She make it easy. Make it easy. 2 weeks since you last touched my face. Feels like so long. This house we built in empty space. It feels so wrong. Don't think it's good for me. Don't think it's good for you. Should we really see this through? Never try to save me. I've been hurting lately. Didn't wanna leave it. You make it easy. I only try to please you. Look right through the picture. Didn't wanna leave you, but you make it easy. Make it easy. Make it easy. Don't think it's good for me. Don't think it's good for you. Should we really see it through? Never try to save me. I've been hurting lately. Didn't wanna leave it, but you make it easy. I only try to please you. Look right through the picture. Didn't wanna leave you, but you make it easy. Make it easy. Make it easy. Make it easy.
Yeah, another. I could definitely hear the Alice in Chains and the
Sick.
on that. When you first start, immediately when the first song came up, and they started playing, I was like, I can hear a rooster right in that. And then, man, I just can't get over your voice and the Chevelle part. Another band that comes to mind. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Oleander.
No, I haven't heard of them.
Check them out. They're kind of like a Chevelle.
What were they called again, sorry?
Oleander.
Orlando.
Oleander. Let me get that spelling for you. Oleander.
Yeah. Cool.
And they're one of my favorite bands from the early 2000s. And yeah, you just got that vibe, and I can feel and hear the references that you made to some of the different types of music and musicians in there, and I get that good vibe. And I know that I got a friend here, Stacy, who's an actress that actually lives in Boston.
Oh, no way.
I think you won over a real big fan here now.
Oh, bless.
She really digging that music, and it's really good stuff, man. And I can't wait to hear some more of that. Have you been dropping your links on like my daily streams and stuff like that for me to retweet them out?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
Well,
I can.
You definitely should, because more people should be hearing this. I was noticing your numbers, and I was like, for the quality of music that you're putting out there, they seem a bit on the low side, and it's not because of your music. at all because your music's great. I don't think that enough people are hearing it, getting a chance to,
Yeah.
and that's what happens on those daily streams. I drop them. It's midnight Central Time, so you were at noon when we started, so about 3 o'clock in the afternoon your time.
Okay.
They drop every day, and you can just look on my page, and I retweet everybody's stuff that's on there, and they get anywhere from 8 to 35,000 views every day. That stream does.
Oh wow.
So it's like playing a small arena every day.
Yeah.
You'll definitely grab some attention when you start dropping them in there, and I would love to help out. I mean, I would love to get you guys over here playing stateside and catch you guys live. That would be amazing.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I know. At least I could get Stacy to go with me. She's really digging it. But yeah, if you check out that band Oleander that I told you, and check out,
Yeah, we'll do.
And talk with the guys from Deep Fried, the lead singer Jamie, super awesome guy, and totally laid back. He's a real fun guy to sit around and chat with and talk music with. And then also my buddy Chris Faust, if you can hit him up on DM.
Got them all written down.
Yeah, they're more of the hair metal coming into the grunge type of music, and but man, if you want someone just to sit around and talk about music with, Chris is one of the guys, and I mean, when I've interviewed him twice, and I mentioned we could have went probably 2 or 3 hours each time just
Yeah, right.
music and some of the shows and stuff that we've seen, and some of the artists that we played with. But you got some incredible stuff there, and
thank you.
Definitely, I believe more people just need to hear it, because there is a following for that. And like I said, your vocals, I mean, just scream Chevelle to me when that vocal, and then I can hear the Alice in Chains in the background of the Puddle of Mud and that type of influence, and you're doing it on. Do you write your own music, or you're the primary?
Yeah, I wrote everything myself.
You okay? And, see, I can see those influences, and you're doing it. You're making me think of those other bands without actually playing the other band's music, because a lot of people will cover a Chevelle song or a Puddle of Mud song, and
yeah,
you think of them, but it's something totally different when you have your own song. And I'm like, man, that sounded just like them. And like that sounds like something I would find on one of their albums, and it's really awesome stuff. And I'm glad that you met Trissette, and she pointed you in my direction.
Yeah,
stuff, and you definitely picked up a fan here in me, and probably a few others over here in chat that are really awesome. And you are more than welcome to come back on the show anytime you want.
Thank you so much. I'd love to.
I know we got the big time difference, but anytime, like on a weekend, there was a little confusion this time when I was doing conversion dates, and I was I was telling you one time, but I was thinking my time when I told you, and I had your hours right. But on my
day, the days wrong.
Yeah. It was my day, but your hours.
I was so ready. I was like at the computer. I'm like, this is gonna be sick. Waiting for the link.
And
the link. Like,
and then you DM me, and then Trissette DM me, and I was like, oh crap! I was like, I had the hour of the day right for you, but the wrong day, because I put you on my day instead of the vice versa. And as soon as I did that, I was like, oh man, that's crazy. I'll have to let him know. And
You're all good.
but yeah, we'll get it worked out, and we can do it. And hopefully, I'm trying to figure out a way, the best way to do one of these where we can do like a whole band setup without the the amps and stuff overpowering the vocals and stuff, you know. And
Yeah,
haven't figured it out yet, but give me time and I
you
will
can
do.
you can
We
run everything through a mixer
yeah,
and run that
we
into the
had
computer,
some
because then you have
yeah
like full control of everything.
if you had someone like a producer there who could run the mixer during it, that would be totally awesome. But if you're like you produce your own stuff, then you can't play and sing and mix at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe like
I
a
just saw in the comments is my friend Dan, who I play guitar in his band. And they're called
okay.
Stray Dog Saviors,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely check them out. They're like
Straight up
riffy,
saviors.
like Stray Dog Saviors.
Stray dog saviors. Dan, well, all you got to do is drop me a DM. It's at Music Legion over on Twitter, or if you're over on Instagram, it's at We Are Legion Music, which is what like the title of We Are Legion Live. It's We Are Legion Music, and you can DM me, and if you want, we can set up a time where we can get on. You can get on here and talk with me as well. I had no problem setting up with the time change. I've interviewed several Australian artists and stuff, and uh, we there's some really good music coming out of there that we just don't get to hear stateside that often because obviously independent music kind of takes a back seat to mainstream stuff. But one of the great things about the pandemic, and I tell this to all the artists, is it's kind of put everybody on a level playing field because the mainstream getting to play the arenas and stuff. They are playing
Yeah,
the exact same venues that independent artists are right here on these screens, uh, doing Instagram lives and Facebook
yeah,
and YouTube videos and stuff like that. And yeah, it's it that was probably the only bright side that I can think of coming out of that horrible pandemic because
yeah.
I'm a live music junkie and I don't even care. I'll sit and watch a street performer play spoons for 45 minutes.
Spoons is fun to play. If
Yeah,
you've ever tried playing the spoons, I highly recommend it.
I'm not. I have no music talent whatsoever, other than listening to it and being able. I mean, I can listen to music and I can hear music, and I can tell you if it's good music or not. But
Yeah,
playing an instrument, I never got the opportunity to play an instrument. Um, I was one of six kids, so my older brothers and sisters got to play instruments, but by the time it got to me, my parents were over that, and they're like, no, we ain't coughing up for that stuff no more. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, so I kind of got to roll into the deal, but whatever. I've always been a big fan of any type of music, and I feel sorry for people who kind of just limit themselves on what they hear on mainstream radio.
mm,
I was like, you're missing so much, a whole world of music that you don't even know about, and
yeah,
these artists are every bit as talented as the ones you're hearing. The only difference is they don't have a big record company throwing huge amounts of dollars behind them.
yeah.
The radio, you know, and but I've had a lot of success doing these with independent artists and getting people to listen, and I've opened up a lot of eyes in the last year plus that I've been doing it, just about a year and a half now, and
Yeah.
and it's really turned out great. And but I really appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, anytime you want to
Thank
come
you.
back on, please just send me a DM, whatever, and we'll get it worked out. Is there anything that would you like to say to the people in the audience before we go for the night?
Yeah, well, thanks everyone for tuning in and sticking around and whatnot. I had one last question for you, Bill.
Okay.
I'm curious, what would you say, like, where would you place genre-wise my music? Because every person I ask, I get a different answer, ranging all the way from, like, pop through to, like, alternative rock, and then everything in between. So I'm trying to get as many answers as I can and try and, like,
Well,
boil it all up into one.
if I was going to have to pick like one genre to put it in, I would have to set it into the rock category. I mean, uh, but that but I think that's taking away from your music to classify it like that, because
Yeah,
I can hear the elements of other genres, and I wouldn't want to label it like that. I mean, I'd label it as music. I don't like to to stick those labels on there, because people, especially when I was growing up, we had specific genres back in the
yeah,
80s. I mean, there was people were rock, they were country, they were R&B, they were hip hop, and people didn't venture outside of that. There was
yeah,
this cross collab and stuff that we have now, and the people that listen to that specific genre wouldn't go out. That's why I hesitate anymore to put a label on music. But if I had to pick one, I would have to say yeah, because of just so much of how much it makes me think of Polo Mudd and Chevelle and like Oleander. Whenever I hear your music, it would throw me back into that early 2000s rock, and just gives me that kind of vibe. But if you're forcing me to put a label on it, that's what it would be. It would be rock. Yeah.
ah, sick. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm really hesitant about putting those labels on, because
Yeah,
don't want to limit people from listening to your music just because I put a label on it, because your music is so much more than just that label.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's just like there's also like a heap of like application forms for like festivals and whatnot, and they're like, "What genre are you?" It's like, I don't know.
yeah, and I hate that. I hate that question. It's like,
It's like which song? Which song
yeah,
do you want to hear?
yeah, and it's like asking uh, a race question on an application. Like, why is this even important? I play music, man.
Mm,
Good music. People are gonna listen. I got something for everybody here. They're gonna dig it, And so yeah, if if you were really gonna twist my arm and make me put a label, I would say rock. But there is no reason in the world why you couldn't also hit up be on like in an alternative set, or um,
yeah,
a blues set, something like that, and even a pop, and a pop, the way things are nowadays. Yeah, you could even fit in there as well.
yeah.
But you just give me that late 90s, early 2000 vibes with your
Ah, thank
vocals,
you.
and it's really good stuff. I can't wait to hear more of it. But yeah, we're running kind of late here in the States, and I got to get up and go to work in the morning,
Ah, fair enough.
or else I could sit here and talk music with you again pretty much all night long. But anytime, anything you need, you let me know. Watch out for
Will
the
do.
daily streams, where you can drop your links in there, and we're gonna get some more people listening to your music, because it's really good stuff, man.
Ah, thank you so much.
All right, well, thanks for being on the show, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. See you later.
Later. All right, guys, that's Harry J. Hart. Please go out and follow him on Spotify, your favorite listening service. Follow him on Instagram, Twitter, um, as well. He's got some really great stuff. If you didn't hear any of his music, you can go back and watch the beginning of the show. I played a couple of his songs here. Very good stuff. And please go out and check him out. You're not going to be disappointed with what you hear. I promise you that. But make sure you hit the like on the way out, and if you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on the notifications, because I kind of randomly throw shows. Like tonight, we had a couple shows today. The next show, I believe, on the schedule is June the 1st, but I will put out a more comprehensive schedule here later on the week, because we got a couple of shows next week, and I'm going to let everybody know about them. But thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, we will catch you later. Good night.